have everyone's attention. It's almost time. So while you're waiting, get a piece of paper out, something to write with. I don't care if it's a pencil, pen, marker, lipstick. I don't care what it is. Then get your movie ready to where all you have to do is press play and get any snacks and drinks you want while waiting, because we're going to have a blast once we start. Enjoy.
Hello there, everyone. How's it going? All right, so it is Wednesday, meaning new Bad Batch episode today, and that is what we're going to watch right now. So what I'm going to do real quick... Whoops. What's up, Southern? What's up, Awesome? Nice to see you guys. Have you guys seen the episode yet? I'll give you guys a quick second. Can I have mod? I don't give it to people who ask. What's going on, Sergeant? Nice to see you guys. I have mine pulled up, ready to go. We're going to be watching episode 10. Hopefully, it's not a Sid mission. Not getting my hopes up, though. I would love it if it was like episodes, what was it? 7 and 8? 7 and 8 were really good. I really enjoyed those two. Can't tune into more watch parties. My Disney Plus membership ran out. Aw, dang. All good, man. All good. Sorry to hear that, though. Are you going to be getting it again at some point? Like maybe after The Mandalorian comes out, possibly? Because that's coming out fairly soon. That starts on March 1st. So we're going to be starting off March with double the watch parties. Yes. We got Bad Batch and we got Mando. Alright, so as always, though, we're going to be going with a timer. And then afterwards, I'm going to go ahead and minimize chat just in case someone wants to try and spoil it as I'm watching it or whatever. And that way I don't get distracted. And then I'm going to pull up chat after we're done. And then we're going to go ahead and discuss it. So with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and start doing that right now. So I will see you guys at the end of it. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go. And by the way, I'm not skipping the intro. As always. Oh my. Huh. What, is he gonna join the crew or something? What a shocker. Not a shock at all. I figured it was gonna be that, or he's gonna like join the Bad Batch crew, but I figured that'd be extremely unlikely. Oh man. Why not just shoot Marco? All right. And that is it. Stop the timer. Pull up chat. And now we can discuss. All right. So, I love how the episode started with Wrecker complaining about being hungry. Yeah, just overall my quick thoughts was, it's just another classic Bad Batch mission, I guess you could say. It's not, it was just a secondary one to the last episode, right? It was like part 2 since their ship got stolen, which rooted from a Sid mission, so I'm still going to include that in the Sid mission category. My thing is this, and I know a lot of people like to make the argument of like, oh, it's character development, stuff like that, right? And I always like to use the argument that they could continue to do character development with, them continuing the main story without doing a bunch of Sid missions. But like, if you really take in consideration there, I'm not saying it's a bad episode, it was entertaining, right? But in general, in comparison to, like, this isn't the stuff we should be getting in terms of the Bad Batch show and the potential that it has. But for those that do want to argue, oh, character development and all this other stuff, what character development did we really see in the Bad Batch from this episode, right? Like, if you really take in consideration, did we really learn anything new about these characters? No, we didn't. The only thing that we've, like, all it did was just another mission, right? And we get character development for, like, characters outside of the Bad Batch, like Benny, right? But we're never gonna see Benny again. It's not the Benny show, right? It just goes back to what I was originally saying, and going back to my main problem with the show, all the way stemming back from season 1. But the reason why I mention it too, every episode, I know it sounds like, great, you're so repetitive, you say the same thing. Well, let me put it this way, maybe the show's repetitive, because I'm only saying it every time they do an episode like this. So if I'm sounding repetitive, that's because the show's repetitive. That overall, though, that's pretty much my summed up thoughts, is it's just another classic Bad Batch mission that rooted from Sid. Yeah. There we go. That's really the best way I could summarize it. Obviously there's good things about the episode in terms of entertainment value, right? But in comparison to what the show really could and should be, it's not there for me. What'd you guys think, though? Yeah, it was very unlikely he would have joined the Bad Batch crew. He wouldn't really make a great member either. Yeah, I there's a couple times towards the beginning where I'm like, okay, I could see them maybe doing it, but I find it very extremely unlikely. I was more leaning towards the idea of basically him crossing the Bad Batch. It's just, in other words, it's a very predictable episode. I knew it was going to go one way or the other. If they did try and include him in the Bad Batch, I don't see how he could be useful, kind of like what you're saying, Sergeant. But yeah. Really, the only character development we really got was more like reminding us of how pure of heart Omega has for people. Yeah, but yeah, then again, right? It's not necessarily new. We already kind of knew that from several other episodes they've done like this. And same thing, like towards the end, they always try and relate the message and, kind of what they're doing for, or what the Bad Batch is doing, right? But basically, there's people like the Empire that aren't associated with the Empire. They're just smaller, right? There's always a bigger fish type of deal, as Qui-Gon would say. But there's smaller ones out there, but there's smaller people like the Empire, right, that take advantage of that. There's always going to be that evil, but at the same time, there's also more like them, right, that Tech was saying, which is something basically hitting kind of like the rebellion, right, in terms of like this big scale of rebellion versus Empire. But it's just, back to what I was saying, like, that's not really anything new. We've seen that several times, not only outside of this show, but even in this show, The Bad Batch. It's just another one of those episodes. So, yeah, I mean, it was just another classic one. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what rating really I should give this, because, I mean, I guess it could be a lot worse, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, what episode? There's 10 episodes. There's a total of what, 16? There's 6 more episodes, and like 3 of them were like actually decent. Like, basically in terms of the main story of the Bad Batch. In fact, I don't even think I can say that anymore, because the main story of the Bad Batch is basically missions for Sid. Like seriously. Like, the majority of episodes are Sid missions. But originally, from how the show started out to be, and the title of the show, Star Wars The Bad Batch, the main mission, right, is supposed to be about them, and just overall, like, episodes 3, 8, and 9, which is funny, because episodes 3 didn't really include the Bad Batch. It was only Crosshair. Episode 8 didn't really include the Bad Batch either. Episode 9 did a really good job of progressing that story, right, with the Bad Batch. But it's like, dude, only 6 more episodes. Just a lot of it's just being wasted. I'd rather have like about 6 solid episodes rather than 16, you know, episodes and 10 lame ones in the mix, you know, 10 Sid mission ones. It's just like, there's good filler and bad filler. I don't consider that necessarily like good filler, I guess. Like, let me put it this way. Sam was asking me about the Bad Batch, right? Is it any good? You know, she was interested in watching it. And I basically told her, like, hey, well, if you could pretty much just watch episodes 8 and 9 after seeing season 1, because she saw season 1, but she's really behind on season 2. I'm like, you could pretty much just watch episodes 8 and 9 and you'll be 100% caught up. And like, really think about that for a second, right? So you go from the finale of season 1, and then if you just watch 8 and 9, think about that. Like, that's actually true. You wouldn't be missing anything if you watched 1, 2, 3, you know, if you missed 1 through 7 and then didn't watch, or sorry, if you didn't watch 1 through 6 and you didn't watch 9 and 10. Like, 7 and 8 are the only ones relating to, like, the season 1 finale, really. You know what I mean? You could maybe, I said that episode 3 was pretty good, but even then, it's not necessarily tied to the main story, and I'm okay. Like, I feel like episode 3 is a good example of good filler in this show, right? That would be an example of good filler. Like, it maybe doesn't necessarily meet the main requirements of the show, but it's still dealing with prevalent things that, you know, are still more filler based, but it was good. I feel like season 3 is a great example of good filler. Then you have like bad sorts of filler, right? And I use the term bad in terms of like the story, because the story is just overall lazy and annoying to me. I definitely think the animation is top notch. Soundtrack's really good. All that's, the overall quality of how it presents itself is pretty good, with the exception of like the story and the writing and stuff, right? It's really just the story. It's not necessarily the writing's bad a lot of the time. It's pretty decent. It's just episodes 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10 are bad filler in my opinion. Even though like the Gingy episode I thought was pretty good, which was episode 6, it doesn't necessarily. Alright, I'd even include season 6. I'll include episode 6 as well into like the good filler. That's like borderline, right? Like, maybe it wasn't as good as episode 3, but it wasn't as bad as like some of the other Sid missions, because if you really think about it, they started it off as a Sid mission. Like, they were in the middle of doing a Sid mission, and then once they went away from the Sid mission to Jinji, right, and then they went to Kashyyyk and stuff, that's when the episode started to get good, which is funny, right? Hey, look what happens when you get away from Sid. So I'd even consider episode 6. So 4 episodes out of the 10, I feel like 2 of them are good filler, 2 are really good that are associated with the main story. What else? But even then, like I said, you wouldn't need to watch those filler episodes to understand. But yeah, that's really it. You really got to look under the surface, though. With all the other filler episodes, they really focus on Omega's and Tech's character development. Maybe that plays a bigger role in the future episodes. But here's the deal. They could do that while doing the good filler or doing the main quest. That character development doesn't have to be limited to these Sid missions that have nothing to do with anything. It doesn't. They're just making it that way. And if you really think about how much time is really spent on that character development, it's not very long. I guarantee you, it's like a lot on most of the episodes. It's like less than 2 minutes of them actually talking and stuff like that. They could easily implement that into a way where they're alone on like something to do with the main quest. It's super easy to implement. Trust me. Like, compared to what we've been getting, I don't find that as a good excuse on Disney Star Wars part. Episode 3 has a pretty big part in the story as well, with having Crosshair thinking about what Cody said. Right, that's why I said it's considered good filler. But then again, it's like it's not necessarily the Bad Batch. I mean, yes, Crosshair was a part of the Bad Batch, but it's more along the lines of the Empire take. And when you compare that to what was going on in season 1, it doesn't really have anything to do with that. With maybe the connection with like the stuff that's been happening with Hauser in season 1 and those types of clones. But even then, like, I don't even really like to think about that, just because that already breaks lore. Because it doesn't seem like whoever's behind the show, which seems to be Dave Filoni and some other people, that they are not understanding how inhibitor chips work. Like, it's in their brain, but that's another thing for another time. That's another reason why I made a stream after season 1 of the Bad Batch came out, and I was just talking about all the lore problems with it, not necessarily story problems with Sid. I mean, we did talk about that as well, but a lot of just the lore problems in general, and that was one of them. I don't really see how they could explain what they're trying to do with that. But that goes back to what I was saying, there's only 6 episodes left. So, like, even if that is something to do with later episodes, they better get to it. They better get to it. But yeah, it definitely doesn't have to be limited to that bad filler. But once again, like I said, episode 3 I'd consider good. I'd give it the pass. I'd give episode 3 the pass, episode 6 the pass, and then 7 and 8. And that doesn't mean that the other episodes weren't, like, entertaining. It's just, dude, like, compared to what the show should be and the potential, it's just not there, right? Like, I thought the little nods back to the pod race and stuff in episode 4, right? It's entertaining to watch maybe one time, right? Maybe, like, the little Count Dooku references in episodes 1 and 2, right? But the overall, like, story, if you really think about it, and you think about what they've done in the Bad Batch, it's like they haven't done much for as many episodes as what's there, right? With Clone War, a lot of people like to compare it to Clone Wars too, right? But the difference is that in Clone Wars, that's dealing with an era, right? And George Lucas also explained this. Like, Star Wars is mainly about, or at least episodes 1 through 6 at the time, right? Before Disney bought it, it was about the Skywalker saga. It was about, like, Anakin Skywalker, right? And the Clone Wars is an era of that Anakin was a part of, but it's more along the lines of a footnote, right? Rather than something to do with the actual story. So some people like to compare about the filler in Clone Wars as well, but that's what it was, right? It's supposed to be the the decent filler. Not every episode was about Anakin Skywalker, right? That was the whole point of the show. I did not get the message that Sid was a part of the show. Like, the Bad Batch trying to just, yeah, I think you guys get my point without me trying to say it 1,000 times. Episode 3 is pretty big. Yeah, I already read that. Okay. But yeah, do you guys see what I'm saying? Yes, maybe no. Maybe you do understand what I'm saying, but you don't agree with it. I don't know. But that's kind of how I am feeling about the show. It's just really annoying to me right now. Just because there's so much wasted stuff. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about this episode. I want to see more, man. I do want it to succeed. I really do. Love the animation style, right? They obviously took that from Clone Wars. I want to see the Bad Batch. I want to see what it is, right? Like, when we compare it to season 1, it's had a really decent start. Really decent start, from Order 66 and everything else like that. And then you have all the way up until basically Sid. It was hilarious. It's like Sid just kind of ruined the whole direction of the show, man, when you think about it. Because what was it? What episode did they meet Sid? I think it was episode 2, right? And ultimately it was like it started off so good in episode 1, and then episode 2, they actually have a legitimate reason though, right? They meet Sid because it was like a Jedi contact, right? And then at first it was decent, like, okay, you do this job and I'll give you the mission. And it started off good, right? They did that like Rancor mission or whatever, something like that, right? As Fennec is also trying to get Omega. And then from that point on, they just kept doing missions for Sid. And I know some people are going to be like, well, they explained it. They said they were, what was it? I talked about this in my stream too. That season 1 stream where they were like, oh, they explained that, Gray, about how they were in debt from that space popcorn. And like gear and gas and stuff that didn't even make any sense at all. But even then, like, they had, yeah. If you guys are interested in more of that, then check out that stream. But I'm not going to repeat myself from there. Sid herself is just a pretty bad character. This show would be way better off without her. I agree. I 100% agree. Because then they would actually have to be pretty creative in their writing, in their storytelling. And I hate to sound, like they're not being creative, but that's the truth. There are some episodes where they are, but the vast majority of them, they're just not creative. And I hate saying like, oh, I could do better, but it's like almost like I can. It's like, dude, I can come up with better stories than this. Like, you've got to be joking me. It's just so disappointing. So disappointing. It could be so good. I guess it's just my hopes, but that's why I can't have my hope. Well, no. There you go. My hopes are always kind of like high for it, but my expectations are always low, right? We always got to keep them in check. Yeah, expectations are always low when it comes to Disney Star Wars. Sometimes it's really hard to keep it in check, especially when you hear things like the Book of Boba Fett show and Kenobi, right? You hear these great titles that sound like, oh man, they're making a show about the character, let's go, and you think they're gonna go a certain direction with it, and then they just mess it up, right? So it is what it is. Pretty common now, but yeah, man, I just wish they weren't lazy with it. I'm not saying every episode's lazy, but the Sid ones pretty much are. That's gonna do it for the stream, though. I will catch you all later on Saturday. We're going to be playing some not Lego Star Wars. We're going to play some Star Wars Disney Infinity 3.0. We're going to be continuing our playthrough with that. It'll be part 4. I hope to see you guys then. And if not, I'll see you guys next week watching The Bad Batch. May the Force be with you. Always.